analyze and see how education system is progressing, what are the achievements that have been made, and the overall milestone. Today in the Education Corner, we are going to discuss about CBE, that is the competency-based education that was introduced in Kenya, and we are going to see what are the milestones that it has taken since it was introduced. And today I'm joined by my colleague who is going to help me analyze. I'm joined by my colleague and my co-host, and we are going to analyze the education system, I mean the CBE, the competency-based education. And what can you say about CBE?
CBE is a competence-based education which transformed after CBC. The CBC started in 2017, which had a structure of 2, 6, 3, 3, 3. That means from 2 years is a pre-primary, and 6 years in the primary, and 3 years in junior. Then senior, you take 3 years, and then in the tertiary, you take 3 years. And in CBE, you'll see that both the learners, the teachers, and parents take part in it. It's not like in 844, which the students were fed up with theory. CBE is like a practical part. The learners are given skills together with theories.
And if I may ask you, maybe, do you think the CBE and the 844 was something that was nice before we introduce our guest?
CBE and 844. Yeah. I can say CBE is improving the education sector because it's provide the learners with skills. But as who underwent 844 system, we were only fed up with a theory part and a little bit of skills, which it was up to you to see how you grab it.
Okay, according to my side, I think CBE is such an expensive, it is so expensive compared to the 844. Yeah.
More to that, we are thrilled to have our guest who will help us understand what is this CBE, how it works. Thank you so much. Kindly introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, thank you very much, Anne and Aflin. I'm Jessica Valerie, an expert in the CBE education system, and I'm honored to be with you here today.
Welcome very much. To help us understand this CBE, we are kindly requesting you to explain more to us about this CBE. What is it and what does it entail?
Okay, CBE, basically known as the competency-based education, is a system of learning that focuses on developing skills, knowledge, and values that learners can apply in real life. It entails practical aspects of learning, other than in the 844 system that the learners were only fed up with the theory parts.
According to you, do you think it is the best education system in Kenya, or maybe the 844 was rather better than it?
Okay, what I can say about that is that the CBE is so far so good. It's not that good or not that bad, but it has various repercussions, because we find that on the positive side, it imparts learners with the basic skills that they can apply after learning, but we find that it's too costly for the parents and the learners, because it requires huge amount of money for it to be successful. We find that when learners go to school, the teachers send them the various requirements that they are needed of for them to acquire the basic skills that they should be. But in the 844 system, I think by then the education was free. During the Kibaki's tenure, the education system was free in Kenya, and so it had no financial constraints, as at now that in the CBE system it requires huge amount of money.
You see that in the 844 system, the education was free, but in the CBE, all the cost depends on the parents. Don't you think the learners are grabbing something like they're given more practical part than in the 844, which was free, but they learn only theory?
Okay, in the CBE system of education, as I said earlier, the system imparts learners with basic skills rather than in the 844 system that the students or learners, they were only measuring on the theory parts, and to some extent they'll go ahead and try to acquire some skills either outside their academic calendar, because you find that in the 844 there was a stipulated calendar that was regulating how the education or the teaching was to be done. But in the CBE we find that when the practical aspects comes in, it's the main thing that the teachers and the learners indulge in mostly, and that ensures that the learners acquire the skills that they are required of.
And maybe to add or maybe to argue a bit, I think to some extent people are proposing that CBE, it is a good education system. Yes, it is a very good thing, but to some extent 844 maybe was not that bad. You see, this CBE thing, it's very costly. It is very costly, as you have mentioned, and you know, those, maybe I say families from a poor background, I'm sorry to say that, in CBE they do not care whether you are coming from a rich background or a poor background. The thing is, they want everything that the other students, the other pupils from those other schools are doing. It's the same thing that the other pupils from the schools in the rural villages are doing. So this is like in 844 everyone could go to school and without being bothered, because things that are required are not that costly. In 844 things that were required were like exam fee, maybe pencils and books. You see, in this one nowadays they want to do cooking practicals. A child is told to bring chicken, bring fish, and you know, when you are coming from those background that does not, they can't manage themselves well, so the child will obviously miss that program. What do you say about this?
Yeah, all that you have said as to some extent is true, because we find that in the CBE system of education, the system requires huge amount of money. For instance, in the case of the practical aspects, you find that a teacher demands a learner to come to school with a chicken, fish, or any other requirement. But this one, it's not guaranteed that when a parent cannot afford it, you have to go, because you can have a close friend and share with him or her and tell him, with me, such a thing is happening in my background, and so I can't afford whatever is you, is whether we can come together and learn together with you. But in the 844 system, the system was somehow cheap, because the CBE, it's not a must that you have to stress the parent. They can strain to an extent that is not good for the issues like theft, just for them to provide for you. So it's not guaranteed that if your parent doesn't afford whatever is required of you, or if the parent himself or herself can take this pupil or the learner to school and have a discussion with the teachers or the trainees and the learner himself or herself and explain the background where the learner is coming from, and there you can find that there are those willing to help, the well-wishers. Some people, good people still exists. You can find someone attached to the feelings on how you've expressed yourself, and he or she may be willing to help.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since CBC or CBE started in 2017 and then it transformed to CBE in 2025, what are some of the milestone achievements it has made?
Okay, on the CBE system of education, there are various achievements that the education sector has achieved entirely. First of all, there is the successful rollout from pre-primary to junior secondary, because you find that in the 844 system, there was preschool, yes. Then lower primary and upper primary,
Yeah.
and further to high school, then to the tertiary level of education. But in CBE, there's various divisions, like the pre-primary in the same institution, and we have the junior class, the CBE class now, that's grade 7, and then later they transform to, or they move to senior secondary schools, which is now in outside the pre-primary environment that the learner may have been introduced to. So you find that this one introduces the learners to various environments, rather than in the 844 system that the learner, when he or she began schooling in one school, he or she just continued until the end of primary school, then moving on to secondary school, where he or she can find an opportunity of joining another school. But in CBE, there are various transitions from pre-primary, junior secondary school, and senior secondary school. So it provides an environment to explore.
But you find in CBE, or CBC, before, that's pre-primary, that's 2 years. When you move to a primary section, it's still in the same school, like the 844 system. It was running from class 1 to class 8. But here you're just from pre-primary to primary, and then in the same school, you also do your junior school. So it's like the same in 844. There is no an achievement there in the CBE.
No, there's an achievement. You know, this one, it works with the system, but in the 844 system, there was the play group, but formerly known as the baby class, and nursery and the preschool. After that, you move to class 1, of which you are now perceived as an adult. But in CBE, there are transitions slowly by slowly, not abrupt changes.
But on my side, I think there is even a reduction of years for learning. You see, during our times, you had to go to baby class, middle class, final, then you proceed. But I think this time, the number of years, like in the pre-primary, they take like 1 or 2 years, then they proceed to some level. It is not just like the same. It is not the same like 844 as we used to do it. I think it is. And also they are proceeding to senior school after some years, not as we used to do it. The same, they do grade 6, there's exam they do, then they proceed, and another one then they proceed to senior school. Yeah.
But in the reduction of the years, you find that in the primary school, there's the reduction of years, yes. But in the junior secondary school now, there's additional years that we can say compensates the number of years that the primary has done away with.
Okay, yeah. Okay. And continuing, like, if I may ask, what is the difference between the CBE learning and 844 learning?
CBE learning, as I said earlier, it's all about practical skills. But in the 844 system, their main focus was on the home and goes to class direct without any practical aspects. But in the CBE system, a learner can go to school, yes, and gets to class, they learn a little bit theory.
My grandma, how can you make her understand this one?
Because you see,
yeah,
our parents, they were naturally, they believe that they determine the brightness of a child using their scores. And you see, in the don't award marks, but they see exceeding meeting expectations. So the parent doesn't know if the learner is progressing well or is not progressing well, because he doesn't see the marks awarded like they used to in the 844 system.
Okay, parents and guardians, learners and the trainees, the trainers themselves, so that a parent, when a learner gets home with the marks or the the achievements is that you are talking of, the exceeding, meeting expectation. He or she should be at a position of knowing that meeting expectation means that the performance of my child is like this, and that will help them understand the performance as well. And the learners too should be trained on how to understand the assessments and the grading system, so that the parent or the older parents who cannot understand more, they can explain it better, because you find that a parent knows how to handle his or her child well as compared to the training that may be offered to them, because training will bring various parents, a larger group of people, but when the parent gets home with his or her own child, they'll find a conducive environment of discussing this.
And you see, in CBE and technology, has technology improved, or has technology supported the CBE?
Yeah, technology has supported CBE in various ways, because there's the use of computers that earlier on were not used. You can confirm that. There's introduction of computers whereby you find that a learner is still young. They start learning about some various technical aspects of computers that a student who learned in the era of the 844 system cannot understand. Rather, they understood it after getting thorough trainings on them. Yeah, that's in terms of technology. And in terms of skills, learners, the CBE learners, they have acquired various skills, like for example in the cooking. A meal for even 10 people that in earlier years an 844 system learner could not do, because they were not even being taught how to prepare meals, the requirements, the menus, and so.
Thank you very much. We are taking a commercial break. We will be right back.
Private schools, I don't think if they face these challenges, because their decision towards taking their children to private schools, I think they had planned earlier and met all the requirements that's required of them. But in public schools, find that the government may delay in providing the support that they should be providing, and this causing the challenges in public schools more than compared to the private schools.
Okay. Thank you so much for that elaboration. And if I may ask, is the implementation of this CBE equal in both the rural and urban areas?
No, you find that in urban schools there are better resources, access to technology, and more trained teachers as compared to the public schools, because mostly the public schools are the ones found in the rural areas, and there the level of qualification of teachers doesn't compare or doesn't go hand in hand with the level of experience of teachers or trainees or trainers in the urban sectors.
But you say level of experience of teachers. These same teachers who teach the learners in the urban and the rural, they attend the same institution.
Even though they learn in the same institution, the environment in the urban sector and the rural sector is quite different, and that can also bring a difference in the education system, because you find that in town there are various improvements, the technology there, electricity, machines, but in public schools in the rural areas there are so many limitations, like the learners cannot access electricity, some infrastructures that aids in their learning processes.
And if I may ask, what are you guys doing, or what are you planning to do so that the schools in urban areas and the rural areas be the same thing, so that some does not felt left out?
Okay, the government is planning to set good infrastructures in the rural areas so as that the learners can acquire various skills as compared to the learners learning in the urban areas, and also train the trainers of the rural area, of the schools in rural areas, because we find that in town there are various technologies in the urban sectors, but in rural areas it's very rare to find technology. So there will be training for both the urban teachers and the rural teachers, so that when they provide knowledge and skills to the learners, they be in the same line.
Thank you very much, Madam Jessica. Can you please take 1 minute and leave a message to a parent, a guardian, teachers or learners regarding the future of CBE in Kenya?
My advice to the parents, teachers, learners is that CBE is not just about passing exams, but about building skills for life. And these skills can only be built with cooperation from everyone. So it can shape a brighter future for Kenyans. So they have to work together. And it's not mainly about acquiring knowledge, but rather acquiring knowledge and passing exams, but rather building skills that imparts a learner positively in the near future.
Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've got something and you've learned something about